All right, my name is Ann Carmichael, and I'm presenting tonight on behalf of Leela. We assist students in Louisiana with their financial aid applications and then throughout the financial aid process. I'll be presenting some detailed information, but I will provide a copy of this to your counselor if you would like to take a look at it after our meeting this evening. So as you might know, Louisiana Department of Education does require that public school students in our state complete the free application for federal student aid. And we often get questions about this. They want to know why it's a requirement. And what we tell them is FAFSA is your application for TOPS, the Pell Grant, Federal Work Study, the Louisiana Go Grant, federal student loans, private scholarships, and in most cases, it initiates institutional aid. When you complete your FAFSA, you are going to be considered for all these types of federal dollars: free money, borrowed money, and earned money. You can see here, it's broken down by type. The free money includes the federal Pell Grant, the federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, the Teach Grant, the Military Service Grant, and then your earned money is federal work study. If you'd like to work while you're going to college and use that money to help pay for your education expenses, then this is a great program. And then the borrowed money, which will include the direct subsidized, unsubsidized, and plus loans. So the FAFSA is the one-stop shop and application for all of these monies. Students could be eligible for one of these or all of them. All of these federal dollars can be used at 2- and 4-year public and private colleges, community colleges, career and technical schools, for part-time and online courses. Now, who can submit a FAFSA? U.S. citizens, U.S. nationals, and then eligible non-citizens, such as those with a green card, an arrival departure record, have battered immigrant status, or a T visa. Now, if you do fall into one of these categories, but your parents do not have documentation, you can still submit your FAFSA. And if you need help with that, I am happy to work you through that process. I'm going to provide my contact information to you at the end of our meeting tonight. Now, before you get started with the FAFSA, it's best to gather all of the documents that you're going to need to complete the form. Those documents will include the student and parents' Social Security cards, because you must provide your name on the FAFSA exactly as it's printed on your card. The student and parents will need their 1040 federal income tax returns for the year 2021 if you filed one. You'll need all of your W-2s. Any income statements that you received during 2021 will be required, because there's information on this form that might not be printed on your federal tax return. You'll need to know the balances of your checking and savings accounts and any investment accounts that you might have. And your college list. So I know you all are starting to think about colleges. Perhaps you've already had the college fair at your school or in your parish. Make sure that you are keeping in mind every school and recording those, even the ones that you are kind of just considering. It's best to go ahead and add all of the schools you're interested in on your FAFSA, so that you don't have to go back in and add the schools later. You'll have FAFSA deadlines to keep track of. Each of your colleges will have a priority financial aid deadline that you will want to meet because this money is awarded on a first come, first served basis. And the sooner you put in your application, the quicker you're going to receive your financial aid offer. The FAFSA can be used as the TOPS application, and there is a FAFSA deadline for submitting, for meeting that TOPS requirement, and I understand it is now moved up to February. Check with Ms. Walls as well because she may have a FAFSA deadline for you to meet your graduation requirement. The student and one of his parents should create a federal student aid ID. This is your electronic signature to sign your FAFSA. It will be used your entire college career and even after you graduate. If you borrow student loans, you'll be able to manage them using your FSA ID. It's a username and a password that you, the student, and one of your parents will create yourselves using your own personal information. Your personal email addresses, not your business address, mom or dad, and students, not your high school email. You won't have access to that email address once you graduate. Federal student aid will have no way of getting in touch with you. So make sure that you're recording it because you'll need it every year that you're in college, but keep it in a very safe place because it is legally binding. Next, you'll jump right into the FAFSA form. You can see the web address here, fafsa.gov. This is what the home page is going to look like. You'll be asked to identify your role. Are you the student who wants to complete the student section of the FAFSA? Or are you the parent who's entering to provide parental information? Now, a preparer is somebody that you're paying to complete the form for you. But remember that the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. And with all the resources that you will have, you should be able to complete this form yourselves. You will continue to log in, provide the student's personal identifiers, and then enter your federal student aid ID, the one that you've just created. The next page will ask you which FAFSA form you want to complete. Now, there are students in this academic year that are still completing their FAFSAs, but you guys are the class of 2023. So you want to complete the 23-24 FAFSA because you're applying for financial aid for next academic year. And remember, this is also the FAFSA that you need to submit to meet your graduation requirement. You will be asked to create a save key. This is a short password that you will use. It's an additional layer of security, so make sure you're recording that with your FSA ID. You will then be taken to the introduction page. If you want to take a look around before you start your FAFSA, please feel free to use that drop-down box. And then we'll jump right in. You can see that there are 7 sections that you need to complete before you submit your FAFSA. Remember to use your personal info, your personal email address and mobile phone number, and make sure it matches what you used to create your FSA ID. Provide your current home address and let them know what state you live in. Colleges will use this to determine whether you're eligible for in or in-state tuition, or if they're going to charge you out-of-state tuition. Are you a U.S. citizen or an eligible non-citizen? Will you be graduating with your high school diploma? What certificate or degree will you be working on? Are you going to have received your first bachelor's degree by next academic year? And that means your first 4-year college degree. So most all of us will not have received it by that academic year. Now, a lot of students have taken AP courses or they are taking dual enrollment. Make sure that you all, for FAFSA purposes, are reporting that you have never attended college and you're in your first year. Because remember, this is for students to receive federal student aid. And although you've taken some college courses, you might be classified as a sophomore, but for FAFSA purposes, everyone should report never attended college in their first year. Next, we'll come to the work study question. Remember, this is your earned money. And these are jobs that are available all over campus to help you work and pay some of your college expenses so that you're not borrowing as much money to complete your college degree. These jobs look great on your first professional resume, and this doesn't obligate you to accept work on campus, but it does let the financial aid office know to offer you the positions. If you have a driver's license, please report that. And then report whether you have ever been in the foster care system, because there could be additional financial aid available to help you with your college expenses. Next, you'll want to report the highest school level completed by your parents. This is important because there could be additional resources for first generation college graduates. Next, you will add the name of your high school. You'll want to put it in the format that Federal Student Aid wants it in so that they can alert your administration on your high school campus that you have submitted a FAFSA. Now we are at this college search section where you will report all of the schools that you're interested in receiving a financial aid offer from. Now you can add up to 10 colleges each time you submit the FAFSA. If you're planning to apply to more than 10 colleges, there are instructions on this page to do that. Make sure that you're telling the colleges what your plans are on their campus, at their school. Are you going to be living on campus, off campus, or with a parent? So that they know how much money you are going to need to attend that first year. Next, you will report whether you are single, divorced, separated. And remember, we are still in the student section. Do you, the student, have dependents that you financially support? If so, report those. And then we're going to move on into the dependency status section. I would like to go over these questions one at a time, because if you can answer just one of these questions, you, the student, if you can answer one of these questions with a yes, then you're considered an independent student and you will not be expected to provide information about your parents. Those questions are you, the student, 24 or older, or will you be by January 1st of 2023? Is the student married or separated but not divorced? Is he working on a graduate degree? That would be after you complete your first bachelor's degree. Does the student have children who receive more than half of their financial support from that student? Is the student currently serving on active duty in the U.S. Armed Forces? Is the student a veteran of the U.S. Armed Forces? Are both of the student's parents deceased? Is the student an emancipated minor, or is he or she in legal guardianship as determined by the state of Louisiana? Now, you're going to see some legal terms and some financial aid terms that you might not be familiar with, but there are resources within the FAFSA. They're there for you to use, so make sure you're checking out all the hyperlinks and using the question mark that's beside every single question so that you know exactly how to answer each of them. And then the last question is the student an unaccompanied youth who is homeless or at risk of being homeless? Now remember, if you can say yes to one of these questions and provide a legal document proving that claim, then you will be able to skip over the parent section of the FAFSA. So what if you cannot answer yes to one of those questions, but you do not live with your legal parents? What if you live with grandparents or relatives or neighbors and friends? Should those people provide information on your FAFSA? The answer to that is no. Only your legal parents will provide information about the on your FAFSA. Now, if those people that you're living with have legally adopted you, then they're now your legal parents, and yes, you would enter their information. If not, please speak with your parents and let them know the importance of providing their information. If you still cannot provide their information, you can submit a FAFSA, but if you do, skip over the parent section. As a dependent student, you will only be offered federal student loans. So do your best to get information from your parents. If you cannot, go ahead and submit your FAFSA and contact your financial aid offices on your college campuses to let them know why you cannot provide parental information. And they're there to help you, just like Ms. Wallace has helped you throughout high school. They are trained and they are there to assist you, to help you find some additional money to help pay for that first year in college. This student is considered dependent and will move on stating that he will provide information about his parents. The next thing you need to do is identify those parents. So if both of your parents are married and they live in the household with you, then you provide information on both of those parents. If your parents are not married or have never been married, maybe they're divorced, but they're still living in the home together with you, they still need to provide their information on your FAFSA. But what if the parent you've lived with the longest in the past 12 months is either separated, divorced, or was never married? Then you should enter information only about that legal biological parent. Unless that parent has remarried, and then you must provide information about your step parent. So what if you live with both parents? What if you live separately? You live with one parent and you also live with the other parent a portion of the year. Then in that case, you would enter information about the parent who provided you with the most financial support. Because federal student aid wants to know the financial standing of the legal parents that you've lived with the longest in the past 12 months. Once you've determined whose information to provide in the parental section, that parent will be asked their marital status and the date of that status. You'll enter information about one or two parents. Remember that they need their socials, birthdates, and their personal email address. If there's another parent in the household, you'll be asked to provide information about that parent as well. And they'll want to know the parent's state of legal residence. Are there any other dependents living in the household? You and your parents will be reported, and this is the opportunity to add information about any other dependents living in the household. You'll also want to report if the parents have any other children in college in the 23-24 academic year. Next, parents will be asked to provide information about their financial situation. So if they filed a tax return in 2021, this is when they want to pop that out. And on the front of that return, they should be able to find all of this information. Have they already completed their return? What type of return it is? What is their tax filing status? This is all printed on the tax return. And then we encourage you to use the IRS data retrieval tool. That means that you are linking your FAFSA to the IRS, stating which parent has that federal student aid ID, giving FAFSA permission to enter the IRS site, and they will grab a copy of your tax records. But make sure that you are entering information exactly as it's printed on that form. They'll want to know your city, street, address, zip code. You have to get the tax return itself and manually enter that information because they want to make sure that the person in the IRS site is the person that filed that tax return. So even if you moved since 2021's return was filed, or maybe your tax preparer made an error, maybe they entered street instead of avenue, you do have to report exactly what's on the tax return. Then give the IRS permission to provide FAFSA with your information. And you should see the fields state submitted from the IRS, so transferred from the IRS. So many of these fields in the financial section will be transferred, but please make sure you're going through every question. If the answers to the questions are zeros, just enter 0, but don't leave anything blank. There's some additional financial information that is required. Did your parents pay or receive child support? Are they dislocated workers? There are quite a few other questions, so move through slowly. And if you have any questions, there is a question mark beside each field that should explain how you should answer that specific question. You'll be asked about other untaxed income that you may have received in 2021. And then you could be asked to provide information about your savings and checking accounts, any cash that you have on hand, and report any investments that you might have. Now, these are investments that will be reported in the parent assets section. I'll quickly go over them. Any real estate, you need the value of that real estate. Don't include your family home. If you have any rental properties, trust funds, money markets, mutual funds, certificates of deposit, stocks, options, or bonds, and other securities. And you can see the list here. This is in one of the drop-down boxes. So if you're questioning which accounts you do have, use that resource. Don't include, as I mentioned earlier, the value of your family home. You don't have to include your cash, savings, and checking account balances because you have already entered that information. Don't include the value of any life insurance or retirement 401k or pension funds or non-education IRAs. Next, you're going to move on to the student financial section. And this is exactly like the parent section. So if the student filed a return in 2021 or have any other accounts or investments, then they will begin to answer questions about their financials. I'm not going to go through the whole section. It's just like the parent section. And then it's almost time to sign and submit your FAFSA. But before you do that, Please review your FAFSA summary. Every student and parent will be asked questions, different questions. Some may be asked more questions than others. This is your opportunity to see every question you were asked and see the answer you gave. If you need to go back and make a change, this is the time to do that. There's a demographic survey that's new this year that you will be asked to participate in. And then you will agree that the information you provided within the FAFSA is correct to the best of your knowledge. Now it's time to sign. So using your federal student aid IDs that you created earlier, the student will electronically sign and the parent will electronically sign. Remember, only one parent has to sign a dependent student's FAFSA. Now, if you have a parent in a situation who could not create an FSA ID, does not have a social security number, this is that parent's opportunity to print a signature page, manually sign it, and mail it to the address listed on that page. The student can then go ahead and submit the FAFSA, and once he does, he will receive a FAFSA confirmation page. This is what it's going to look like. There's a lot of information on the page, so I would encourage you to print it or take a screenshot of it. It will tell you that it takes 3 to 5 days to submit your to process the FAFSA, at which time each of your colleges will receive your FAFSA data. And once you finish up the admissions process, the financial aid will begin working on a financial aid offer for you. You'll see your estimated expected family contribution, your eligibility information, but remember, these are only estimates. The FAFSA group does not award you your financial aid. Each college will send you a financial aid offer. Once the financial aid office does receive your FAFSA information and they've seen that you have been admitted to their college, they will begin to calculate your net price. And that means they'll determine the cost of attendance on their college campus for you. They'll start to identify any grants and scholarships that they can offer you to go to their college. And then you will see the amount that you will be responsible for paying. Now, this will be for one academic year. So make sure that you are looking over your financial aid offers very carefully. And if price is important to you, make sure you accept your financial aid offer in this order. Grants and scholarships first, that's your free money. Federal work study next, that is your earned money and it does not have to be repaid. And then your last resort will be student loans. Now continue to look for scholarships because every scholarship that you win will reduce your student loan debt. And most scholarship opportunities are available in your senior year. So check with Mrs. Walls. I know she has a lot of opportunities. She hears from schools all over the state and probably the country. She hears from religious and community organizations, and you can check with those as well. You can find scholarships through organizations and clubs that you belong to. The TOPS scholarship is a great opportunity, so stay on track to receive TOPS. Check with the admissions and financial aid offices at the colleges that you're applying to. And then nonprofit organizations like LELA offer scholarships as well. Local businesses and private companies have opportunities for you, so check out those. But if you find that you still need money to help you pay for that net price, LELA does administer a nonprofit education loan program just for Louisiana residents. You can find out details about that at lelachoice.org. Now, every year, Leela publishes a FAFSA completion guide and workbook, and it is for seniors. It's a free guide. We also have published again this year our parent guide for planning and paying for college and our senior checklist. So if you would like to have copies of these, I'm going to leave my email address with you at the end of our presentation, and I'll be happy to provide you with electronic copies. This year, we have 2 scholarship opportunities. Complete your FAFSA if you live in the state of Louisiana, and you can apply for our $1,000 FAFSA completion scholarship, and stay in Louisiana and attend a college here and apply for our $1,000 Choose Louisiana scholarship. If you decide that you would like to schedule a free FAFSA completion session, it will be with me directly. I will stay on the line with you as we go page by page through your FAFSA, or I'll send you a Zoom link so I can be right there within your FAFSA form with you. You can just use this QR code to schedule that session. So I'll give you a few seconds to use the QR code if you're interested. If you decide that you want to work on your FAFSA on your own, but you just have a question or two, call our FAFSA helpline. We're happy to answer your call and work with you. If you want to begin a dialogue with me about a special situation you might have, or you want some resources, please take down my email address. It's carmichael@leela.org. Now, hopefully you all have provided your first and last names and your high school grade level so that Ms. Walls knows to record that you did attend the session this evening. But if you have any other questions that you would like to ask me at this time, please use the Zoom chat box to ask those questions, or you can unmute yourself and ask me individually. Someone is asking the name of the website, and I'm going to type it in the chat box. It's leela.org. The education loan programs site is leelachoice.org. Hopefully you won't need any additional money, but if you do, okay, I'm going through the, Ms. Walls is asking for parents to provide their names as well as the student. Let's go down to the bottom. Are there any scholarships for culinary school? Check with Ms. Walls to see what she has heard, and Google those culinary schools that you are interested in applying to. Many of them have information on institutional aid that they offer to their colleges, to their applicants. Also, start a conversation with someone in the financial aid office or the admissions office and let them know that you're interested in their school, but you're looking for some additional money to help pay for your tuition. That's a great question. Now, if you are a parent who has created an FSA ID for yourself, maybe you have recently been in college or you have an older child, there you'll want to use that same ID. You'll always use it, whether it's for yourself or for your children. But before you use it, go into the ID site and make sure that everything is up to date. And I'm going to put the FSA ID site here in the chat box as well. So instead of going in and creating an FSA ID, you will go in and update it. And there is the site for the FSA IDs. Has anybody already started their FAFSA, or have you already submitted yours? Well, remember, you have plenty of resources available to help you get through the process. If you're gathering all your documents ahead of time, it really should take no longer than 30 to 45 minutes to complete. I see that someone has already started their FAFSA, and good for you. And remember to move through slowly and make sure everything is correct before you submit it. And don't feel bad if you have to ask questions. If you're working with Ms. Walls or maybe a graduation coach at school, or if you want to speak to me directly, then I'm always here to help you. You want to make sure that you're letting Mrs. Walls know when you've submitted your FAFSA. Ms. Walls, would you like to tell the students what you are requiring of them? Are they supposed to send you a copy of the email they receive or that confirmation page that pops up? How will you know if your seniors have submitted their FAFSA?
Yes, ma'am. Once they have completed the FAFSA, we're requesting that they would send us a copy of the confirmation. However, I do get a report monthly from the district that lets me know who has completed their FAFSA. But the quickest way for me to know is if after the student has completed it, for them to send me the confirmation.
Right. Does anyone else have questions? All right. Well, I want to thank you all for having me this evening. And Ms. Walls, I want to thank you for inviting me to present, and let me know if I can help you all in any other way.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. And I have also emailed the students the link so that they can schedule an appointment if they would like.
Great. I look forward to hearing from you all.
Thank
Good.
you.
You're
And thank
welcome.
you all for joining in tonight. You all have a great night.
Good night.